Well, we've just got a couple of minutes to go. I just want to do my standard sound check, make sure everything's working. So if somebody could just pop a comment in the live chat to confirm that you can see me and hear me, then I know we will be good to go in 2 minutes' time. See you then. Hello and Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome to Ian's Studio Live, the 100th edition. Yes, we've finally made it. We've finally got to 100 episodes. And because it's New Year and because it's the 100th, I think this is a really good time for us to look back and to look forward. So we're going to be looking back at the past year and looking forward to perhaps a few changes to how things are going to be done. Now, do say hello in the live chat if you've joined us. I can see we've got, well, anywhere between 6 and 9 concurrent viewers at YouTube's usual inconsistent stats. I can see Gary has joined us, so hi Gary, and hi to Tim, who's already there, and hello to Bob, who should be joining us on the replay sometime tomorrow. So let's just get started, shall we? And what have we got on the show? Well, as I said, we've got Stuart joining us as well. We're going to be looking back at 2021, and I want to share with you my top 10 images from the past year. It's a little exercise I'm trying to do every year now, and it's really, I think it's really worthwhile doing it, but I'll talk more about that when we get there. I'm going to try and answer a question about desktop studios, which was a question that Gary asked a long time back in the Facebook group. And finally, I can get round to answering it properly. I know there was a bit of a discussion in there, but hopefully this will also add a little bit to that discussion. I've got a little bit of feedback. It all got a little bit confusing with so many shows that I either had to cancel or wasn't worth running because they were on Boxing Day, or I was tied up with other things. Anyway, we're back. So I haven't got much image feedback to give you, but I have some, and I will give that later. And then we're going to be looking forward. We're looking to some changes. I've got some very significant changes that I'm announcing tonight to do with my website, to do with the live stream and to do with how I use YouTube. I don't think any of it will come as a surprise to you on there, and I think it is all good news. I don't think I've got any bad news in amongst all of this, so don't think that I'm leading you along the route of everything stopping or anything like that. It's not. It's all going to be good news for you. And just as a reminder, we have, and it is interactive, so do use that live chat. Ask questions. I love getting questions during the live streams. It gives me something to talk about. It also means I know that people are there. So anyway, ask questions, chat away there, chat amongst yourselves. Don't have to include me. Right. So let's get started with feedback right at the start, top of the show. Now, this is going to confuse anyone who doesn't tune in till later because they think that's where the feedback's going to be. Well, it's not this week, it's at the beginning. Right, I'm going to go over to Lightroom, and it's only a couple of images to talk about this time. So let's have a look at this one. It's an image of the Felsman steam locomotive by John Bamber. It's really well composed as the image goes. I like the lead-in lines of the track on there. It looks almost chocolate box image style. Wonderful sky on there. Very much in keeping with the scene, lovely light on the hills and everything. However, what I would say, John, is that the image is a little bit underexposed and possibly the white balance is off slightly. So let me go and let me go full screen. You know, it's so long since I've done this, I'm forgetting where all my buttons are on here. So I'm going to go full screen. Yes, that's full screen. Right, and first of all, let's look at the histogram. The histogram's your friend when you're editing photos, and what I can see from this is there is very, very little over in the top third of that histogram. I would expect to see more in there, particularly with these white clouds, and everything's bunched in the middle and down in the dark areas. So that's telling me that the image is underexposed. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to lighten it up, and now that's looking a lot better to me on there. Now, having done that, it does kind of make the sky a little bit, the blue sky, a little bit washed out, not by much, but what we can do with that, deal with that on colour, and I'm going to just target the area. In fact, if I go HSL on here and I target luminance and use the targeting tool on here, I should just be able to just target the blue, darken that up a little bit. Don't want to go too far, don't want to get any banding there. And if I go saturation and again bring the saturation up with it, that kind of restores that blue look that we had previously on the image. And I think that's a lovely image, John. Great composition, wonderful timing, and I won't tell anyone that you were trespassing on the railway line, which I assume you were from the edge there, maybe it was the edge of a platform that you were on, but it does look as though it's out in the wilds there, but it's a lovely shot. Right, let's move along. Oh, let me just do the before and after on this for you. That was before and that's after, and you can see the main things that have changed. The sky's got a little bit brighter, but the main thing is the rest of the image is brighter and the clouds are more up on the white end where they should be on that. So moving along, I just wanted to share two images that Rick had shared with the group. In fact, that's the first one. I think it was a training video he was doing for Pixapro using this background. And the reason I wanted to share this was I saw the background hung up in his studio and thought, Well, that's a bit on the small side. You're not going to get much use out of that. And I was just intrigued to know what he was going to do with it. And you can see the background here. You can see it's not big at all, but with very careful cropping, tight cropping on there, and with not a millimetre to spare top and bottom on that, it's come up with a really good image on there. A textured background, really interesting on it, and I like the lighting that he's used here. We've got the big softbox over on this side, and it's been feathered off to give a lovely soft light. Now that would give potentially quite a harsh shadow over on this side, but what Rick's done is he's put a gridded strip light there to both lessen the shadow on the background and to provide this little bit of a highlight effect around the side of the model on there. So really nice pair of images there, Rick. Thank you for submitting them. Always good to have your images in the group on there. And finally, Andy May posted this shot of a dry stone wall, and I've got to say, Andy, I really like this one. The colours are a little bit surreal, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I like the colour. Now, I don't know whether that was genuine for the sky on there or not, but it certainly works, and I like how the colour effect. We can just see that pinkiness, orangeness, just reflected in the wall as well. It works nicely. We got this lovely lead-in line bringing us into the image on there. Is there anything I would change? I'm not sure. We have got, well, we've got the border obviously blown out. That looked as though it was blown out there, but now I can see with that the only thing that is blown out is the border. You don't half confuse my reading of the histograms when you do that, but that's my problem, not yours. I tend to like my images just a little bit more contrasty, and for this I would want a little bit, perhaps just a touch more clarity, which is the mid-tone contrast, maybe a little general clarity, maybe help that with just taking the blacks down a fraction. And that's a very, very subtle, and you can just see it's a very subtle change. I don't even know whether that is visible on the video. I can certainly see it here on my monitor. So that's all I got for this week. But just to say at this point that next Sunday's video, I'm going to do a feedback special. It may not be live. I'll explain a little bit about that later. So if you've got images you'd like me to feedback on, if you could let me have your images by, let's say Wednesday, that gives me Thursday or Friday to do the recording on it. I will go through those and do a feedback session for next Sunday evening, but I'll explain a bit more about what's happening with that next a little bit later on. So let's head back to where we were and move along. So yeah, that's the email address to send your images to, feedback@ians-studio.co.uk. So moving along, I just want to say thank you to the sponsors, which is as ever yourselves. And this week, the cup of tea has been brought to me by Ed Miron. I don't think you're watching tonight, Ed. Maybe you'll see this on a replay. Oh, and talking of people joining us, I've just seen Walter has joined us. There's a hi, Walter. Good to have you with us. Just to say about the Buy Me a Cuppa, for anyone who doesn't know, the link's on the screen. I'm going to talk a little bit about it later on, but I need to make all this pay to keep the business going. And one way you can help, if you find these live streams and the videos on YouTube helpful, you can buy me a cuppa through that link. It's also down below, and it's just a way of helping me cover the costs of doing this and keeping me in business. So I'll say no more at this stage, but we will move on. Yeah, and thank you to everyone who's been sharing links to the YouTube videos, liking them, and thank you to everyone who subscribes. I've noticed my subscriber count's been going up recently, averaging about 1 a day at the moment, new subscribers. I'd like to get that to 2 a day, because I've got a target to meet on that. Talk about that again later. And if you're not a member of the Facebook group, link is down below. Please sign up for that and sign up for my newsletter. Also, link down below on that. So, the first part of this evening, looking back at 2010, 2010, not 2010, at 2021. Where did 2010 come from on that? I know where the 10 came from. It's me thinking about my 10 best images of the year. This is something I've started doing, and something I would encourage you to do as well. Go through what you shot last year. Find your best 10 images. Now, here's the challenge for you. As I said, next week is a feedback show. I would love to do part of that show on somebody's top 10 from 2021. So see if you can, if somebody's willing to find their top 10 images from last year and share those with us, and I'll go through with that as part of the feedback next Sunday night on there. But why do I encourage people to do it? Why do I do it myself? Well, it acts as a benchmark. I've only got, well, really 2 years of doing this. I might retrospectively do some other years, but it's always good to look back on the year. And what I discovered by looking back on my year was that I thought that 2021 had been a bit of a write-off because of COVID. And then I saw how many studio shoots I actually had during the year, and I was quite encouraged. I think, well, maybe there was more hope to it than I thought. Maybe it was a better year than I thought. But it's also a benchmark that I can look back at. I can look back at the previous year's set of images and look at this year's and think, have I improved? And if I haven't, why not? I like to think I have. So it's a good benchmark on that. So that's one of the reasons I do it. How do I do it? Well, and I'll do a video on this at some point about using the star rating in Lightroom or whatever other tools you use for managing your images. You can have up to 5 stars in most bits of software, and I use just to talk through them very, very briefly. 0 star is something that is basically hidden, not even going to develop it. 1 star are images that I will develop, but nobody else gets to see other than me, largely because they are ones that really aren't ready for publication, but I want to keep it for maybe a record reason, or maybe it's an image that went wrong and I might need it later on, things like that. Or it may be just personal. It's something that I want as something to remind me of something, a snapshot, but it's not good for public consumption. 2-star images is I'm happy to share with anyone, anytime. So I will. Those are anything you see will be typically 2-star or above. 3-star I use for the best handful of images from the shoot. It may be 1 image, it may be no images actually, but usually it's the best image or the best 2 or 3 images from that particular shoot. So when I'm trying to find my best 10 for the year, the way I do it is I start off with all the 3-star images from the year. And that worked out, there was 200 and odd of them this time. And then I just went through those and removed any images which I knew there and then weren't going to be in the top 10, very easily not in the top 10. For example, I might use the 3-star rating for all my theatre stuff, to indicate the ones which are going to be the display prints at the theatre. So I know that I was never going to use more than 1 image from a particular production. So I went through and removed all bar the best image, the best one from each play. I knew if it was a client shoot, I did mark out a whole group as 3 stars as the ones I wanted to present to the client. And I was never going to use all of those, so I just found the best one from there. And I then whittled it down that way on that first pass down to about 20... No, it was about 48 images. I got it down to about 48 images at that point. Then I went through again and whittled it down, I think, to 20. And the way I did that was, if I got images from 2 similar genres or similar shoots, or from the same shoot, I would go through and say, right, okay, of those 3 images, which are all very similar things like water splash, I did 2 water splash events. So I got images from both of those. So, right, looked at those, right, which was the best of those, and I whittled it down that way until eventually I got 20, and then it really got hard going through those 20 images to try and find 10 of them. And sometimes it's, well, I really want to keep that image in, but the others are better. And eventually I got 10 images, which I'll now show you in Lightroom. So here they all are. I'm going to go full screen and I'll talk you through them. The first of the images, now these should all be organized in order in which I shot them. At the start of the year, I'd borrowed some of these posing blocks from Rick, who got them on loan from Pixar Pro, and I'm gradually creating a number of images to showcase my product photography work, and this was one I wanted to do. 14 doctors and a TARDIS, and I've mocked it up as though it was an actual product coming from the figurines collection, with my disclaimer at the bottom on there. And it took a fair bit of work. It's actually a focus stacked image. It's a fake background on there. It was blue to start with, but then I added this swirl effect and I've masked it round. So I actually spent a lot of time just creating this image to really sort of highlight my work as a photographer who could do commercial product work. So that's why that one's in there. I'm rather partial to it. I rather like it. And you can see if I zoom in that everything's absolutely tack sharp, and that's down to the focus stacking techniques on there. You can even read what's on the front of the TARDIS. This TARDIS and that sign, which is tiny on there, you can see how small it is. We can actually read everything on the screen on there. So that was number 1 on there. At some point I might do a video a little bit more about how I created that. My next one was pretty much a grab shot actually here in the studio, but I've kept it because well, I was creating it to try and just, I think it was for a blog post at the time from what I remember, and I thought it's an unusual way of doing a self-portrait, in that I'd set the camera up on a tripod. It wasn't remote trigger enabled on it, but I focused on the screen of the video camera, but just kept me out of focus in the background. And I just like the elements on here that, okay, I'm in there on the 3rd line. The image here, it is more central, but it kind of works. And again, I'm on the 3rd line this side, and it just sort of tells the story of the studio, and it's a good, useful image for blog posts about live streams and things like that. Let me just bring up the shooting information on there. Basically, I wasn't using the studio lights, as you can see from here. I was shooting it as a 1/6 of a second, and I just kept still for it. Camera was on tripod, image stabilization off, So that's how I create it. The only thing I would say about this is remember to dust your equipment before doing these type of shots. And you can see on here, you can see how sharp it is. You can see the individual pixels on the screen. And if you're wondering about the crack in there, that's when I dropped the camera, not last year, year before, and I had to replace part of the screen on there. I did a fix which is technically not possible to do because it's all glued in. But unfortunately, in ungluing it, well, the screen developed a few cracks. Let's say that, but at least it still works. The next one, I've worked a fair bit over the year with Tatiana, a great model, and I love working with her. She's so inventive and creative, and she's willing to try lots of things, and her thought processes really follow along with my own about showing people as real people and not just this artificial look that we're sometimes guilty of as photographers. And during one of the shoots, we wanted to show this idea maybe of loneliness and not being part of the in crowd. So I got her sitting on the chair and sort of huddled up, arms around her knees, and I deliberately framed this with her right over to one side because I felt that gave a more unsettling look to it. I also feel that particular sort of setup works well with it because it gives the idea that the character and the figure that Tatiana is portraying is just on the edge of things with it. So that made it into the list. That was an easy choice, and the monochrome processing on there, absolutely wanted to keep that because again it gives that a bit more of a gritty feel to it. Now this next one's an interesting one. I ummed and ahed about keeping this one in, but in the end I decided to. It was a shot, one of the first shots with my new R5, which I acquired this year. And the reason I had to create it was because I'd bought a USB-C to USB 3.1 cable for tethering. And what turned up was not a USB 3 cable, it was a USB 2 one, as you can see from the end of it. So I reported this to the manufacturer and said, hang on a minute, your website says this is USB 3 and that's not what's come. And they said, are you sure? Can you send us a photo to prove this? So this was the shot I did, and it's done with daylight. It was at home. I just put it on a bit of white paper, and because it's quite a stiff cable, I was able to just focus in on the M on there. It was with my macro lens, and all handheld with it, and it's a really nice sort of little product shot, which I know that image will get used if I'm talking about connecting things. I want to illustrate that. It's a good blog post type image about connectivity. And I just like the red, white and black sort of colour schemes in there. So I've sort of kept that one in. It kind of tells a story, and it's just an interesting way of showing products. It's a good stock image. It'll probably go up to Alamy at some point as well. Then we're moving on to events here in the studio, and as I say, we did 2 splash events during the year. Excuse me. And I really like this particular one. I had about 3 from the splash events in the top, certainly in the top 50, and this one, even in the top 20, there was at least 2 of them. And eventually I went for this one because it looks unposed. So often with these shots, I mean, the way you have to do it is you get the model doing the pose first, and then somebody throws the water and you aim to synchronize the shot and everything. but with this one, the expression and the way the water, you can see our expression through the water and the hand in there, it just looks as though I've caught this off-guard moment in there. And absolutely everything is tack sharp on it as well. I was really pleased with that. You can see individual water droplets on the thing, and the water glistening on the sleeve. So I was really pleased with that. So that one went in there. Just to comment a little bit about the processing on this. One of the things I did with it is I upped to the vibrance, but brought the saturation down. And it's something I don't often talk about doing this. It mutes certain areas of the image, but tends to not mute the skin tones quite as much doing it like that. If you bring everything down and then just add that little bit of vibrance back, it just gives a lovely, I like the feel of it. And just experiment with that one, folks, on there. And I've upped the clarity on it as well. Did I do any? Yes, I thought I had. One of the things I've done with it is, you can see here, one of the things I did was I brought the clarity right up, but then I've masked it and brought it back down again on the skin so that the skin isn't over sharpened on there with that. So anyway, that's that one. Again, I can't remember whether this was from, I think this was with a shot I did with myself working one-to-one with the model. I was so impressed with her with these Red Room sets that I then ran it as an event in the studio during the year. But there's something really engaging about this one. The eye contact with the camera, that I've vignetted it partly in camera, and did I do it in post as well? Add a vignette? Yeah, surely. Yes, I did on there. With it. So it's a combination of lighting the background with a gridded light just to give this sort of vignetted look. But the key thing about it is the engagement between the subject and the viewer that looks straight down the camera lens on there. I think is so powerful with that shot. I think it's worked well. Now, again, working one-to-one, and I can't remember the model's name, Afra. I'd put a casting call up because I wanted somebody for one of my training videos, and I said, if you'll just pose, it'll only take me 30 minutes to record the video with you, and then I'll do whatever shots you want for your portfolio in my studio. And she was a ballet dancer and wanted some ballet photos, and this was one of the shots that we created in the studio. And I just like the engagement on there, the relaxed pose, and I think this one was created at one of those moments where we just paused from shooting and we were just chatting about what else we wanted. And she was in this really relaxed pose. I had the camera in my hands. I just lifted it up and got this relaxed shot. And it's one of my favourites from the shoot. And the black and white gives a sort of almost documentary sort of feel to it on there. And unusually for me, there's no rim lighting on it. It's just a very simple, straightforward lighting on there, which I think works well. In the summer, some of you may remember I had food poisoning. Well, this is from the day when I got the food poisoning. We'd gone out to visit a few places in North Yorkshire, including a church which had Stations of the Cross, which some of you may know. I've got a bit of a thing about photographing the Stations of the Cross in churches. I'm quite fascinated with how those are depicted in different ways. And this particular church, something very unusual in that instead of it being artwork within the church, it's actually the road, the path, quite a steep path that you walk up, and the Stations of the Cross are marked with crosses. But inside the church, there's this stone altar, and it was just a handheld shot. You can see 20th of a second handheld, but it is absolutely tack sharp. A little bit of noise in there because I'm at 1000 ISO. But considering a 20th of a second handheld, I'm really impressed with that. Now, why was this possible? Well, it's my R5, which has got in-camera, in-body stabilization, combined with the RF 24-105 lens, which has got in-lens stabilization, and the two together allegedly can give up to 8 stops of stabilization. But not only that, I was only shooting at 24mm, so I'm well within, I'm really quite close to the value I need to be at for hand holding anyway. And all that being combined means I was able to hand hold this, done a black and white conversion to it, added a little bit of a vignette. And if I show you the processing on here, you'll see that I've brought the highlights all the way down just to try and get as much detail through the window as possible, and the shadows up to just reveal what's in the shadows in there. And I must admit the style and the processing on this is somewhat influenced by some of the stuff that Gary Platt has been sharing with me and through the Facebook group over the year. So inspired by Gary on that one, but wanted to keep it in the collection for the year. I had to include this. This was a client shoot for funeral directors, and not only did I create the image here, but I also designed the billboard, and this is up on a big billboard in Stockport now, advertising the funeral directors. This was all shot on location, but it's actually a composite shot. And let me just explain a little bit about that. I did shoot the funeral director with the horse-drawn hearse there, but there was a couple of things. I lit her using speed light just to add extra light to her and just to make her pop in the image, which I knew wasn't going to light the hearse, the horse-drawn hearse. But that wasn't a problem. What was a problem, what turned out, was I'd originally thought, okay, I know I'm going to have a shallow depth of field, but I think it will look okay. When I saw the final images, I wasn't convinced with the shallow depth of field, but I'd already taken a few shots while I was testing everything. And so I used one of those shots where I'd focused on the horses, combined with the shot where I was focused on the undertaker, on the funeral director, and I composited them together. And that actually turned out to be the right thing, because the horses got a little bit restless. And on a lot of the images where the funeral director was looking perfect for the camera, the horses were looking in different directions and were moving and things like that. You can see it's a 15th of a second because I was dragging the shutter because of the background. And the ones where the horses were great, the funeral director didn't quite like how she was looking on there. So I was able to select one, select the two independently. The other little bit of post-production work, and over the year you've heard me comment a fair bit about sky replacements, and I'm, as you know, I'm a little bit cynical about those, about how when they are done, they need to be done right. And I hope I've done this one acceptably correctly, etc. It is a standard sky background, but what I've done is I've matched the colour of the sky to the autumnal colours in the image, and I actually warmed the image up It was you won't see it in the settings on here because it was a PSD file that I've exported as a DNG. One of the things I did was I warmed the image up a little bit so that the sky and the autumnal colours all matched on there. But because it ended up on a billboard, that's one of the reasons I kept it as an image of the year. And yeah, last one, film noir shoot that I did here at the studio. Why has that gone blurred? It's better. And it's just one of the images I selected from that. Really pleased with it. The use of the blinds, the light coming through there, that was our primary light. I also lit the rim lighting on there to give this real nice film noir look. And there's the video all about this on the YouTube channel, which you may have seen. I also included it on one of the Sunday nights not so long ago, so you know more about how that was done. So that is my 10 for the year. And if I do that, that's the full set. I think that's not a bad representation of my year. I'd love to see your selection of 10 images from your year, folks. So if you're up for the challenge, please send them to me at feedback@ians-studio.co.uk. Right, moving on, and time's moving on. Let's head back to where we were. What's been going on in chat? Well, a few things on there. Right. Well, I don't know who... Well, first of all, welcome, folks. I don't know who MZHVPGXS is, but that looks like a spam post to me. Thankfully, there is a space in there. I guess that's to stop the spam filtering from picking things up. So please don't click on that one, folks, unless MZHE gives us some further explanation as to what it's all about. Evening, Peter, and evening, S Numbers. And thank you for, it's good to get to 100 on the live streams. So if you missed the beginning of it, wind back and catch it later. But I've got some important things coming up. Right. So let's move on. I had a question come in a long time ago now from Gary about desktop studios, and he said if you were going to create a small desktop studio which could be quickly set up and dismantled, something to photograph small items and subjects, what would you use and how would you set it up? Well, there's an interesting question. I have actually talked about this previously in one of my videos about focusing rails. And if you do a search on the YouTube channel, you'll find it. I think I linked to it on the Facebook page as well. But I just want to play in the actual extract, the bit that's relevant on this, because it just saves me dragging the whole kit caboodle into the studio now to try and show you, because I was able to show it a lot better on that video than I could now. So it's only a very short extract from the video, so don't worry about that, but it just explains my setup, and I'll talk a little bit more about it and a few things to keep in mind. Let's start by looking at the setup. I'm photographing a small model Dalek for this example, and there's a couple of things to look at with the setup. First of all, the background that it's on. Well, the background is just a sheet of grey mounting board, and what I've got here is my own desktop studio setup. It's 2 pieces of MDF with lots of holes made in it, and then using little shelf supports to go in the holes to hold the background paper or background card exactly where I want it. on there, and it gives me that nice seamless curve, same as you would have in a studio for background paper and a subject for a portrait session. Then the camera is sitting on tripod. On top of the tripod is a set of focusing rails. And I'll talk a little bit about the focusing rails in a moment. Obviously, trigger. I've got 3 light sources for this scene. Over in the far corner over there is a speed light coming across, giving me a rim light, predominantly on this side of the model. Over here, we've got another speed light. I've put a blue gel on there to give a blue effect on this side of the Dalek. We have one of the studio lights up here acting as a fill light. It's on very low power, and the aim is just to reduce the shadows on the Dalek. Some of the shadows are being filled in by the use of a card here. Again, just bringing in that hint of blue light there. Very, very little in that. Most of it's actually getting washed out by the main light. So that's the lighting setup. Why are there 2 lighting stands on here with a bit of card over the top? Well, that is preventing the lights spilling from up here onto the background. Right, so that's the setup. That gives you a feel for what it looks like and perhaps how I would use it. A couple of things you couldn't see on there is the 2 bits of MDF are actually hinged, and there are 2 hinges at the back, so that when I'm not using it, I can fold it flat. There's also a chain either side and a hook, so that I can use that chain to determine how far back I want the back part to lean. So on that one, it was vertical, but often I have it leaning quite a way back, and I just use the chain to stop it from flopping all the way back. I don't have to then support it underneath. I can just let the back go back like that and have the chain there holding it in place. So that's what I use as my desktop studio. And it's really quick to set up. The lighting takes a lot longer with it. All right. I would say it's not worth buying these light cubes or whatever you want to call them, where it's a light box with lights inside. I know the discussion online talks about buying one of those for doing those. What I find with that sort of thing is it's very limited, because you do need the flexibility if you're doing product work. Every product is different, and you will want to light it differently. You may want to get light behind but not in front or behind. Those sort of things are great if all you're doing is photographing Daleks like that and you didn't want any interesting light, you just wanted bog standard flat lighting. Those are fine for that, but it just does not give that flexibility that anyone really interested in product photography wants. If I could make a change to my own setup, one thing I would like to have is to have my actual background translucent so I can light from below on there. And I'm thinking about, is there a way to do it? Rather than having just that big pegboard on there, creating a wooden frame where I have translucent material I can put in instead of the grey card on there, or whatever coloured card I want to work with. And that way, if I put it on legs, I can light from underneath and have the light coming in from behind. That is something I'm thinking about for the future, would be something I'd be interested in doing. And you can buy commercially available ones. They're sort of an S shape. It's the same sort of curve like that, and they are translucent, they're on legs. And those sorts of things, I would think about something along those lines if you were going to buy something. But honestly, if you're into this sort of work, this sort of macro tabletop photography, I don't think you need to invest 400 quid in one of these boxes with the lights in because I think they're very limited. I would go for something that gives you more flexibility, use your own independent lighting on there. I have one of those light tents as well, but I very, very rarely use it. Again, video about how to use it on the channel. And if you look at what I produce with that compared to what I produce without it, I would say without it gives me the better results. Right, no new questions in the chat on there. So let's move on and just talk about the future. Right, let me be totally honest with you at this stage. I need to generate income to keep my business going. At the moment, I just about break even, and the last couple of years I would not have survived had it not been for grants that I got because of COVID. So those have gone. We have not got rid of COVID. I've got to find a way to keep generating income to keep my business going. My hope was that the YouTube channel would take off and that I would get monetized and I'd be able to earn money that way. It's taking too long. I set my target of, well, a year, and it's coming up for 2 years now, and I'm still not there. So I've got to find ways to move forward with my business, and particularly the training side. That's what I'm passionate about. As you all know, I want to do more with helping other photographers. I'm more passionate about that than I am about any other genre of photography. And even if I had been monetized on YouTube, I know it wouldn't be a huge amount unless things were taken off and things went viral, which chance of me getting that is minimal, unfortunately. So let's be realistic about it. So I've got to look at ways I can generate income. I don't need a huge income, let me be honest with you, but I do need enough to be able to keep paying the rent on here, on that. And I was prepared to play the long game, but I can't play the long game for much longer. I can't do that anymore. Why? Well, I'm 58 years old. I know I don't look it. I know I look a youthful 35-year-old, but the reality is I'm 58. I'm going to be 59 this year. And COVID and cruising permitting, I want to do more traveling. So I've got to have an income that's going to cover the rent on the studio, that's going to cover my expenses, my insurance, and all that. And also, it's just a fact, I want to do that. And also looking to the future, it is likely that in the next 5 years I will semi-retire, being realistic about it. And when I do semi-retire, the first thing which will go will be the bricks and mortar here at the studio, unless things take off astronomically and it's financially worthwhile keeping this place as a base for doing video work, for doing the things I want to do, even in a semi-retired state. Now, I want to say at this point, for those of you who are thinking, oh heck, Ian's going to close down the studio. No, I'm not. Certainly not for a long while. There's a lot of other things which have to happen before that's going to take place. That retirement is going to be tied in with my wife retiring. It's going to be tied in with a move of house and all those sorts of things, which are not going to happen in the short term. So the business is going to be here for a few years yet, but I want to position myself ready for when that happens. I'm not just going to stop. What I want to do is get to a position where I'm not reliant on having a studio. I can do more traveling. I can still generate enough income from that to supplement a pension and live comfortably and still do all this because I'm passionate about it. And I would hate to stop teaching and doing the photography and the training that I do because I love doing it and I get a real kick out of it. I get a buzz out of it, which is why I don't tend to be too worried about the money, but occasionally I have a reality check and think, yeah, I've got to earn more to actually cover the costs. So, looking to the future, I've been studying the YouTube performance, particularly with the videos that I've been producing and the live streams. And what I've discovered is, yeah, we might get 11, 12, 13 people watching the live stream, which isn't bad actually. I'd love it to be more, but there's a significant number now who watch on replay rather than watching live. And that actually has a knock-on effect on the channel. Because different people on the replay, you can fast forward through and people target the bits that they're interested in, which I entirely understand. And I'm not saying don't skip over things that bore you. I just need to be more engaging. So it means my retention on YouTube is low on the playback, and that has a knock-on effect. So basically, I need to create more punchier videos that people will watch beginning to end, because retention's king. The bigger the retention you have on your videos, the more YouTube will recommend. The more YouTube recommends, the closer I get to that target of being able to be monetized, which is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours within the rolling last 12 months. And I'm at about 50% on both of those at the moment. So I still need to get more on that. And the way to do that is to create these punchier videos. So I'm going to be changing how I work with YouTube. That means there won't be a live stream every week. It's not sustainable if I want to get monetized, because if people are only watching and tuning into the bits they want, my retention on the live streams is very low. That affects the algorithm. So what I've looked at is, if I still do the same sort of content that I've been producing, but do them as discrete videos, and people just watch what they're interested in, hopefully the retention's better, which means more of my videos will get recommended. It also means if I produce these more punchy videos, the sort of things that I've been doing this month because I've been forced to, because I've not been able to do the live streams, the retention on those is good. It's really good. So I want to produce more in that style. So topics will be more self-contained. So feedback videos, like I'm going to do for next Sunday, it will be just on feedback. It'll be more self-contained. So if feedback's not your thing, don't watch it. Then wait and watch the tutorial ones. If affinity is your thing, just watch the affinity ones. Don't bother with the others on there. So we keep that retention high. So that's what I'm doing. But I'm going to commit to there will be something every Sunday night at 7:30. Sometimes it'll be pre-recorded. Sometimes it'll have to be because I might be away on a Sunday. Other times it will be live, and it may be just a feedback one. It may be just a particular topic. I will try and keep them short, but there will be something 7:30 every Sunday night, so you can still tune in for that. Now, the other thing looking to the future is, if the studio goes, as I said, that it probably will in the next 5 years, having the brand name of Ian's Studio doesn't make sense anymore if I haven't got a studio. So I'm going to rebrand what I'm doing, and particularly the training aspect of my work is going to get rebranded as, big drum roll, and some of you may have seen this already, Making Photos, because 2 of the videos I released were designed to come out after the announcement, but I had to bring them forward, and I introduced them as Making Photos. Welcome to that. So that's the new brand name for my training work on there. The Ian Studio brand name will remain for all my commercial work and for my non-training work. So my portraiture work, my theatre work, my work for clients, my product work will all be done under the Ian Studio brand name. but my training work will be under Making Photos brand name. When the studio eventually goes, the website will retain, but the branding will revert back to my imb.biz website, which already maps onto in Studio, and I'll just switch the mapping round so that the primary domain is imb.biz and the other one, the In Studio one, will map onto it. So that is still staying there for the commercial work, but for those of you who want training and want to learn about photography, you want to be looking at makingphotos.co.uk, and I have for that a new website, which is making-photos.co.uk, but it also works without the hyphen because I registered both names. And I'm just going to give you a quick guided tour and talk to you about the website. So here we go. Here's the website, makingphotos.co.uk, with the tagline, "Great photos are made, not taken." Basically, there's three parts to this. And most of this isn't there yet. As you can see at the bottom, we are under construction. And that's just saying, please bear with us while we build the site. The three parts are free photography training, which is all these things that you used to from me, the blog posts, the photography videos on YouTube, the photos of the day, the Facebook group, and all that comes under this arm, the free photography training. Now, what's going to change with this? Well, one thing that's going to happen within that free area is I am going to be running Google Ads. Sorry, folks, but I need to. I need to generate the income from that. So I'll be promoting my blog posts. I'll be running ads on there. Now, if you might think, oh, ouch, don't like the idea of that, they are only going to be on the free ones, and I am going to give you an option to view the site without the ads, and that is anyone who is an Academy member. Yes, I'm going to be restarting the Academy. I'll talk about that in a moment. If you are logged in to your account, your Academy account on the site, when that's up and running, no ads will show anywhere on the site, even if you're looking at the free stuff. So that's an incentive to become an Academy member. I may even have an entry-level membership where the only thing it does is to remove the ads. But I've got to generate some income from the free stuff that I'm providing on there. The next section, you can see under there the different areas. So the photography tutorials, you see they're all down here. They're not all in there yet. But you can just go into, so the theatre photography one, and go into that, and you'd have a look at it. Now, the ads aren't on there yet. The site's not been approved by Google for them yet. But if you were a free member, then you would expect to see an ad at the bottom, one in the margin, like that. But again, we've got things, so hopefully you'll stay on there. You'll find this interesting with that. So just going back to the home page. And the pay-as-you-go section is all the stuff that you know that's really at the studio. The events, the workshops, mentored studio hires, one-to-one training sessions, and all my courses. I am probably going to be doing a proper Zoom-based online course fairly soon. I'll be advertising that soon. And also the pay-as-you-go will include the mentorship program that I'm currently developing. I've got one person on the mentorship program, Tim, who I believe is watching, and yes, I will get that paperwork to you in the next day or so. I had it out, I was looking at it earlier today. That's all included in that part of the website, and then there's the Academy. Some of you will be familiar with the In Studio Photo Academy. Well, this is the Making Photos Academy. It's I'm basically learning from all the things that I did with the previous one and implementing them on here, but with things like exclusive roam maps for training, I learned so much from doing the last one about what I need to do. This is a ground up restart from it, but all those downloadable resources will be there, all the things that you know, and I will still be keeping it with an affordable subscription. But there will be an option to combine the mentorship with the academy as well. That'll be coming sometime in 2022. My target for it is June. I'm hoping I might beat that, but I am not going to launch it until it is ready. That has to be ready before I will launch it on there. So that's the website. I invite you to go and have a look, have a scout round, but bear with me as I'm building it. You'll find things changing as we go. And all the things like the blogs are up there. Again, I've only uploaded a few of them so far. It's all a matter of transferring them from the previous site, and you can find all the free stuff underneath there as well. So it should be straightforward to navigate. If you've got any feedback or things that aren't working, do let me know in the Facebook group, the best way, and I'll get them fixed on that on there. So back over to where we were. And as regards the brand name, the Making Photos brand name, you can expect things to move over to that over the coming weeks. It's not all going to happen instantly. Things will gradually happen with that, and you may notice one already. Have you noticed that the watermark has now changed on these PowerPoint slides to Making Photos? Did you notice it at the beginning? No, because it wasn't there at the beginning. At the beginning of this, it still said in studio. There's a lot of free content. I've mentioned about the ads on there, on that. The Academy, things I've learned, yeah, it's all what I've already said on there. And I am going to, just to let you know, if you were a past member of the Academy, you will have the option to join at your old Academy price. And that is an absolute bargain, because the launch membership is going to be more expensive than what I'm offering to past members. So it's a really good chance to jump on at that price. And then it will go up to its proper price after a couple of months on there. But it's not going to happen until everything is ready, and I am totally happy with that Academy on there. So, as I say, probably about June time that will be going. The mentorship program is a pay-as-you-go option and will be also available as part of the Academy. I am planning events and workshops. I need some of those to generate some income. I am keeping with the small group format as well, where it's 3 photographers and that's it. I think those work better. It works better with my style here, and the feedback I've had from those who've attended has been positive. So to summarise, the YouTube output's going to change. There'll be more standalone videos. There will be something every Sunday night at 7:30, but it may not necessarily be live. Please have a look at the new website, bookmark it, come back and visit. Try out things like the search function on there. Tell me what's not working and I'll get it fixed. And expect to see that new branding appearing soon over the various aspects of my training stuff on there. So folks, thanks for watching. Here's to a great 2022. What have we got in the live chat? Let's have a look on there. Nothing new on that. So let's move on. If you want to email me, contact me at ians-studio.co.uk. And next Sunday is going to be a feedback special. I'm going to concentrate on your photography, your images. I'd love to see some of your best 10 from last year in there. So who's up for the challenge on that? Email them to feedback@ians-studio.co.uk. Or post images to the Facebook group as well if you like. So, as ever, thanks for watching, and now I really can say it and mean it properly. Until next time, keep making great photos, and bye for now.